What's up, guys? Subderek here, and day 2 of the World Championships just ended, and we have our final 8 players. This was an incredibly close day. As you can see, it really came down to the wire of these last few scores. Just 1 point difference for some of these players, and getting to the final lobby is obviously a huge difference between going out. Obviously, this player in 9th place, Dooney Zuni, gets $10,000. I mean, I'll never. Yeah, I'm not Demasian Raptor. I'm not going to turn my nose up at $10,000. But obviously, if you can win the entire tournament, you get 150K. That being said, let's check out our final lobby. We have Degree first overall. He was popping off yesterday. He continued to pop off today. Ice from China, Scipius from EMEA, Relic from Latin America, Sake from China, Taro from Japan, Ryue from China, and Malala from North America. So, as an NA stan myself, we got 2 reps in the final lobby, which I'm very hyped about. So, I wanted to take a look at one of the games that one of our reps played. This is Malala, and this is Malala's final game. As I showed you there, he was the 8th person overall, so even 1 less placement in this game, and he would not have been in final lobby, or he may have tie broken, but 2 less placements he definitely would have been in. But he would have been tie breaks with 1 less, and I don't know how the tiebreakers would have gone because he's a beast and he didn't even have to tie break. But I just thought this was a beautifully played game from Malala. We watched it on stream just a few minutes ago, and I just wanted to VOD review it because it was so cool. I was really surprised by how this game went, how it was played, and you know, the result at the end as well. So yeah, I'm hyped. 2 NA reps in the final 8. We still have the best AVP over any region. Sadly, Dish Soap wasn't able to make it. Sadly, Weird, aka Forcin Smurf account, was not able to make it. Dish Soap just had a rough day of games, just some hard games to play. So you know, it happens. It's TFT. I mean, he still did very well, and I mean, getting to Worlds on its own is a huge accomplishment. So great by him. So here's what's interesting already. So we get some pretty crummy gold augments to start with. We had Vampirism, which in my opinion is already a really solid take here. We have Sword plus Glove plus Cloak as our last item. So you could look at like an IE Slam maybe, probably not Edge of Night Slam because it sucks early, and IE isn't that good either. You could go for like a Steadfast Heart Slam, but you don't really have a headliner to play around yet. I'm immediately thinking just Vampirism, right? Play Lost Streak from this position. You have this Nico, which means you're going to be less gold than you normally would be. Not the Nico on our bench, but the duplicator. So I'm thinking just Vampirism into Lost Streak here. But we see something pretty interesting from Malala here. He pops the Portable Forge, which like really blew me away. Some people were saying that maybe he was thinking about going for like a Riven game here with like Death's Defiance. You go like IEDD, and then I don't know, get to QSS maybe somehow, and like maybe those are your items. But Malala decides to do something else as well. He picks up the Eternal Winter here. Eternal Winter here, I was really not confident in because we don't have any 2-star tanks. So we just have to slam this Eternal Winter on Nico here, which, you know, in my opinion, I mean, it's okay, but I would not bet on this in the final lobby where I need a great placement for this to get to a good placement and you know, use this placement to get to the final lobby. But we do at least end up winning this first fight. It was against a pretty weak player. And then the next thing that happens is we get this Jinx in our shop here. We have Superfan in with these other Superfan units, so we can play around Superfan with Superfan Jinx. And now the board starts to come into focus. The Superfan item for Jinx is Gwynsu's Rageblade, which means all we need at this point is to have a strong front line here. So we slam the Steadfast Heart onto the Nico, which is our best slam in this spot. It's an item to augment our Nico here. IE is not a very good item on Jinx, and we don't need more damage items on Jinx. Look how much damage this Jinx does if we buy enough time for her. Look how many stacks she gets on the Gwynsu's Rageblade. We can also pick up the Cassante too here, which maybe can come in later, and he's actually going to come in very soon because Malala says in this position, there's some scary matchups here. What I should do in this position, just add even more frontline onto it. We have the Gwynsu on the Jinx. She ramps up so hard. So what I need to do here is do the Bebe level and level for this Cassante here. It's Sentinel for my entire board, which is going to make this Nico tankier, and it's going to, you know, be a Cassante 2 on my board. This positioning is beautiful, by the way. The Eve gets funneled straight into the Nico here, and then just gets hit by the Eternal Winter. We were probably always winning this fight versus Drew when we went level 5, but I mean, that was beautiful positioning to do max damage, though. I mean, that's our other NA rep, so a little bit sad to do that much damage to him. At this point here, we have the sword open here. Malala has a really cool idea. He's looking at the rod here for Gunblade, which would be a fantastic pickup, but we can't actually get the Gunblade here, so it's a little bit sad, but you know, not the end of the world. We get this set off Carousel and we get the Urgot from Portal here. And this is another like huge like area where you can make a decision, right? You could duplicate the set here, play the set on this board, but you're going to lose the Nico, you're going to lose the Superfan, and it's very possible that not only are you spending a lot of gold buying the 2 sets, which is going to hurt your econ, but your board might not even get that much stronger. So we say we're going to hold the line here. We're going to hold on to the Nico. We're not even going to play the Urgot. We've talked so much this tournament about how broken Urgot is, but what can you even cut for Urgot here? You can't cut the Cassante for Urgot because you're going to lose Sentinel. You're going to lose that front line. You don't need the Urgot's damage. You just need the extra ramping damage from the Jinx. Like, Jinx can be your solo carry here, and you just need tankiness around her. So I just feel like he played this early game so fantastically, and we just got one more fight to go to keep our 5 streak here. We end up fighting Donnie G, who is the other player who's on a win streak, and he has Escort Quest here. This fight is really scary, but once again, with expert positioning, we keep the Nico alive long enough that she can get multiple casts off. It was so beautiful how this frontline juggles aggro, because the Jinx aggroes on to the Nico there. Look how close that fight was, by the way. Any slightly different fight like positioning, and we could very easily have lost that. But the Nico takes aggro, slows down the Jinx's auto attacks, but then the other units walk up and then protect the Nico from stuff like that Urgot, stuff like the enemy frontline. So the Nico gets like maximum usage out of this Eternal Winter, out of this tankiness, and I mean it's just a beautiful early game here from Malala here. We get dropped Even Shroud components, which, I mean, are fantastic. You basically always want to slam this. We early level here because we're still going to make 40 gold, so we might as well level, especially to try to keep our streak versus some of these stronger boards. And, I mean, yeah, the Even Shroud slam is very straightforward here. Also, leveling for the Seraphine. Not only is she KDA, which is fantastic, a lot of extra stats for our Nico and our Lilia and even our Jinx, but she's also healing onto this Nico. So when she casts here, she's going to heal the Nico a little bit, add more frontline to our frontline, which, once again, as I've been saying, that's all we need here is just to stack up the frontline, stack up the frontline, stack up the frontline, and the Jinx is going to be able to get there on her own, because, I mean, she's a beast. Augment here, I think Contagion is a pretty solid choice, just because it's, one, we're already playing a very front-to-back comp, 2, it's just a solid combat augment for what we are very likely to play this game, which is AD Flex. We could theoretically play anything from this spot. You know, like we picked up the Seraphine, maybe it could be a Seraphine game prior to us slamming the Even Shroud. But we have the Even Shroud components to slam. We want to slam to stay on our win streak. So I think it's just very straightforward to play AD Flex from this position. We have great AD items and great units. Really nice here. We fight Weird, who is raised the stakes. So it kind of works out that, you know, like he's raised the stakes. We get to fight him and get a free win, and he gets a free loss versus us. So it's like kind of win-win for North America. Weird at this point was mathematically eliminated from the tournament, so he's just playing for money at this point. But I mean, money is definitely money. Here's the first shop that's actually really nice for us. You know, we've hit a few 2-stars, but nothing really crazy. We pick up this Caitlyn here, which makes our game plan even more straightforward, because now we know, okay, we can just play towards this Caitlyn as our carry. We spread out our front line here because there are Senna players in our pool, and we end up actually fighting one of them with the Eternal Winter on front line. We manage to freeze this Echo. We freeze the Senna, and we do end up winning this fight as well. So it is an 8 streak so far for Malala. So he is just cruising here. He does have the sword open, so he wants to finish an item with that to play for maximum streak and to, you know, just slam some items to make the game easy on us. The most obvious one here is Giant Slayer, fantastic item in the meta right now. And, you know, there's 2 bows on the carousel, so we can easily pick up one of those, make Giant Slayer, and be happy. Only downside is, you know, like, ideally we could get to something like a red buff with this bow, but, I mean, you can't greed that too hard. We are able to level here. He thinks for a sec about swapping out this Jinx for this Mordekaiser, which I think would have been a huge mistake. This Jinx is doing so much for your board. You would have so little damage if you swap this Jinx out, so I think that would have been a really big mistake. And Malala considers it for a second, then says, you know what, that actually seems terrible, and continues to play this board. So really smart stuff from him. This is a pretty strong board we fight from Kaka Ken. But we are going to end up beating it. The board just doesn't have enough damage to get through this Nico, stacking up the shields. I mean, yeah, our board is just so good. And so we have one more fight, and then we will have a full 10 streak here, which is huge, right? Winning this fight is worth at least 6 gold, well, really 7 gold for keeping our win streak and then keeping it on minions, and then the extra 1 gold for winning the fight. So we need to win this fight. We fight a pretty weak board from this player, Lechuyen. Another important factor in this game is that Lechuyen needs to outplace Malala in this game to make Final 8, very likely, and so beating him here feels really good as well. Do some damage to him. We like 4-0'd him, 5-0'd him, or something like that, which, you know, once again, we're making our enemies go a little bit further down, and then we're also, you know, elevating ourselves. So yeah, we pick up a second Nico here, but it's interesting because like at this point, we're likely to want to just pivot into like an 80 flex board. So it's kind of weird to like Nico the Nico here. So I think it makes sense to just chill, you know, for one round, see what we get here. We're going to level here, pick up a Zed, sell our headliner, and look for something to play. We see a few like bad we see a lot of bad options actually. Pick up Ezreal, but we find Caitlyn, which is a huge pickup here. And then Malala does something that's really, really interesting. Is he says, instead of pivoting into like a full 80 flex board, I'm just going to continue to play the Superfan board. I'm going to Nico the Nico. I'm going to make her 2-starred. I'm going to play the Aphelios so we get Heartsteel in. But I am not going to actually like pivot into a full 80 flex board. Look at this, by the way. He sells the Zed here, sells the Zac, sells all of these 80 flex units, and says, you know what? I can go fast 9 from this position. Inspiring Epitaph is a fantastic combat augment, so we get to pick that up. And yeah, I mean, we have the set in here for Heartsteel. It's like not amazing, but the board is good enough. It is very good enough to continue our streak here. And like eventually we're going to lose the streak sometime this stage, but the Caitlyn's very strong with these items. The Superfan gives her a third item so we can play around this IE, and the Shojin with the IE and the GS is really, really nice because it puts Caitlyn in the range where she can actually start sort of like one-tapping some backliners. So she gets a lot of use out of her ults. I mean, look at this. We fight Degree here, who has he has a Senna 3. His board is not weak by any means, but Caitlyn just one-taps all the weak units and then casts on the Senna, ult her like 3 times, and boom, the Senna's gone. So now we're 30 gold on a 12 streak here. And I cannot like begin to overstate like what kind of a place this is to be, especially when you're a player like Malala, where you're saying, I need a good placement in this game. I need probably a top 4, probably better than a top 4 this game, just to guarantee myself in this tournament. And like when you're looking at this spot, you were overjoyed, but also like I need to just I need to get to the next pivot, right? The next pivot is, you know, like making my board better, getting out of Superfan, and, you know, getting to what my final board is going to be, because your job is not done yet. This is not a straightforward board to play where you're just going to upgrade a few units. It's not like we found an entire pentakill board and we just have to like add York and we're done. We need to pivot out of a lot of these units. We need to pick up a lot of these lower cost units, and he puts them in his team builder right now because you need to look for those guys. So yeah, we have Giant Spell to open here, and so I'm pretty sure the idea is that we really want Morello in this position. We can't get a Rod, sadly, but we want some kind of heal cut, and Morello is definitely the best heal cut that we can get because we can put it onto something late game like a Ziggs, or I don't know, like a Lucian, and they can spread Morello to the entire board, whereas, you know, Sunfire's gonna only end up hitting frontline, which is a little bit rough. We fight Kakaken here again, who still has this reasonably strong punk board, but I feel like this Eternal Winter is just such insane value. It's just so hard for the Vi and the Jinx to end up actually killing the Nico there with the Eternal Winter just because it freezes everything. We get some extra gold there, 14 streak here, one more fight, and we will be full 15 streak here, which once again is another 6 gold, well, 7 gold really, that we're getting, you know, for continuing our streak and then continuing our streak on minions. He's trying to do perfect positioning here, make sure that nothing goes wrong, and this is really, really solid positioning as well. He corners a unit to bait the crowd diver. You see the Zed jumps to the corner there after dying. Really, really nice to make sure that Caitlyn doesn't get CC'd. We end up winning this fight against Donnie G, and it is a full 15 streak from Malala. I mean, what can you say, man? What can you say? Just a beautiful early game. Like, I mean, at this point, we're getting into late game. A Weird giving him the thumbs up, saying, "You got this, boss. You're an absolute beast." They're both win streaking, the 2 NA players. Like it's just so beautiful. He pops this here, has to pick up the Rod basically, and then finds Lucian plus Kiana shop. So now he's gonna level here, and the value of him rolling is quite high. There's a lot of stuff he can pick up, and he finds Kiana 2, which is really, really nice. We're gonna get Kiana 2 in here, keep the KDA as the Akali, and yeah, we just have everything in here. We have true damage in with the Kennen here, and so he makes the Morello, puts that onto Kennen for now, and decides to make Adaptive Helm onto the Kiana. It was between either that or Hodge. I feel like Hodge tends to make more sense in spots like this, but it is tankiness for the Kiana. It's a little bit of mana gen for the Kiana, so it's a pretty interesting pickup there for him. We find the Zac here, which is something that we could potentially pivot into here. We would have to get out of some of these Superfan units, but we do get a much tankier unit to play around here, and we can move the Morello over to the Ziggs here, who's just a fantastic holder of the Morello here. And now that we have Caitlyn 2, we have this Kiana 2, we have the Zac 2 and everything, Malala starts thinking, okay, wait a minute, I could actually go fast 10 in this position. I've rolled a little bit, but I have all the upgrades that I need. I have this Senna now, who's going to be a nice pickup over the over the Caitlyn. The idea is we can go fast 10, sell this Caitlyn, pick up a Lucian, and we will be in a very, very good position, right? We can cap out our board high enough to win this lobby. With all this gold that we've got really, really solid combat augments. We've got so much gold from our 17 streak. We'll be very, very happy with this. Now, we end up fighting Kakuken, who has finally hit the Jinx 3, but Kiana is too strong, so we end up winning this fight. 18 streak here, 40 gold. This carousel here, we would really, really like to pick up a Caitlyn item. Either Renan's or Deathblade would be fantastic. We go for the Deathblade, it gets yoinked, and the Renan's gets yoinked, so we have to take Gwinsu, which is a fine item. It's a very, very good item onto Lucian here. And he thinks about putting it on Lucian, but we're 62 gold here. We're on an 18 streak. We're 100 HP. Why not just go fast 10 here? Then we can sell the Caitlyn, and then we can move the Gwinsu over to Lucian later anyway. So we don't need to actually put the Gwinsu on Lucian now, because it's actually stronger on the Caitlyn now, even though it's a pretty weak item on Caitlyn. Third item on Caitlyn is much better than first item onto Lucian. So it's a fantastic pickup there. Sadly, we end up fighting Donnie G, who has capped a pretty strong Heartsteel board, and we lose our streak. So no Mr. 100 for Malala. Very, very sad. We were talking like maybe could do the Mr. 100 as the final game in tournament, which would have been so sick. But sadly, he cannot. It's still a good dub for him, though. So you know, not the end of the world by any means. And yeah, we got one more fight here before we go into the Mignon round. But I mean, we're pretty happy with this spot. We're going to be able to go level 10. The other crazy thing here is look at Weird's board. He's also level 9, 50 gold because he had a big Heartsteel cash out. So he's also looking to go level 10 in this spot. So Weird's going level 10 and we're going level 10. So we're going to be sort of contesting each other for units, and this ends up actually being very, very crucial here because Donnie G, I believe, is also playing 80 flex. It's that Jintu that you saw there, and I don't know how many Lucians he has at this point, but he has at least one Lucian, I believe. We're gonna get a remover and an item here, and a York from the portal. We're gonna pick up Renan's here, which is a fantastic Lucian item. Pre-level a little bit, and then does he? No, I think, yeah, he waits one round here because you should, right? He's very, very healthy. He doesn't really care that much about winning this fight. What he cares about is having max gold. So yeah, there's one Lucian out on Donnie G's board who is pretty, actually, we can't see his gold because we're fighting Clone, but I don't think he's that rich. I don't know if he has the ability to go 10 in this position. But we're going to lose this fight, drop to 56 HP. So we need to spike the board now. We're going to level and start rolling here. We're just looking for Lucian, basically, because Lucian Headliner would be fantastic here. But we roll so much, and we don't see a single Lucian. We see a ton of pairs, but still no Lucian. So we're forced to end up picking up this Urgot, which is really, really rough. And we need a third item for Urgot. He reforges the Gwinsu and ends up getting the third item for Urgot, which ends up being Last Whisper here, which is a fine, it's an okay item on Urgot, pretty solid with the IE. This is a wild spot because now we've lost this fight. We have no Lucian Headliner. I think Weird at this point has hit Lucian Headliner, and all of a sudden it starts to become really, really difficult for us to actually hit Lucian Headliner. We get this board in here, which ends up being basically what we play around for the rest of the game, which is the Zac, Zed, Kiana sort of like grouping. We end up actually hitting the Alawi 2 here, but at the last second, so it kind of messes up the tentacles, but it kind of works out. But yeah, you can see here on Weird's board, Weird managed to hit the Lucian on level 10. I think he went 10, yeah, because he's 0 gold here. Surely he went 10, which makes it so much harder for us to hit it. That's so many Lucians out of the pool. And now we're actually losing a lot of fights here. We need a final item. We can go for like a Lucian item here. We can go for a Kiana item here. We end up going for the Guard Breaker for the Lucian. There was a lot of sort of like discourse here about what the correct play is here. Demacian Raptor, who we were co-streaming with, was basically saying you should sell this Zed, you should sell this Zac, and you should sell this Kiana. Get in 3 Jazz with Misfortune, and then just get in like some sort of extra units, maybe like Set to fill out synergies, and then something else like Rapid Fire to finish everything out from like a Felios or something. I think it's a pretty tough call because I do think if you sell Kiana to, like if you sell everything 2-starred, it's really, really hard here to like actually guarantee that you're going to win the fight, and we end up losing to this Jhin, and all of a sudden, we're in actually like a really, really bad spot. We have one more fight against this Donnie G player. Now, there is one thing that Malala could do here that I don't think, I mean, it's a Hail Mary, and I think he thought that it's possible for him to win the fight here. If you want to go for it, you can sell your entire board here and look for Kiana 3. I don't think there are any Kianas out, and everyone has a lot of 5+ out. And if you look at Donnie G's board, Lucian 2, Jhin 2, we are never actually beating this board, which is wild. So what you could have done in this spot, actually, is sold your entire board here. You'd have 6 Kianas with the Kiana Headliner, and you would actually potentially have a shot to hit Kiana 3 here and win the entire lobby, which would have been absolutely sick, would have been wild. But it does end up actually being a third for Malala, which is crazy, right? It's wild that this game is a third for Malala. I do think he played the early game out fantastically. There's definitely a lot of different ways you could have played out that final like end game board. I think he played it a pretty solid way, but the Yorick ended up just not being good enough versus the Lucian and the Jhin, like these really strong backline carries. But he didn't see a single Lucian, so it was a really difficult spot to play. Hats off to Malala though. That early game was absolutely beautiful and got him to a spot where he could easily get a third. And the third was what he needed to make Final Lobby. So he will be playing Final Lobby tomorrow with all of these other players for a chance at $150,000. And for Malala, a chance to do what no one has ever done in TFT, which is win Worlds, win a TFT Cup, which is the KDA Cup that he won. He went second at regionals, and he of course won the Vegas Open. The Vegas Open to winning Worlds would absolutely be the most insane run we've ever seen in any region of competition. So I'll be rooting for Malala and Degree tomorrow because they're you know our boys in I don't know, red, white, and blue. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be co-streaming the final day on Kai's channel. I'll put a link once again in the description when it's live, which is 4 a.m. Pacific time if you're into that kind of stuff. Oh, also, if you they're going to be doing some kind of reveal for set 11 information after the stream, so tune in for that. That'll be absolutely hype. Can't wait to, you know, do some set 11 stuff. Yeah, all right. I'll see you guys in the next video.